Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, thank you all so much for joining this Java session. We're super excited to have all of you here. My name is Candice. I'm an incoming junior, and I will be one of your Java instructors for this session.
Hey guys, my name's Alex. I'm also an incoming junior, and I'll also be one of your Java teachers for the session.
Hello, my name is Andrea, and I'm also an incoming junior, and we're also going to be your Java instructors.
Cool. So I don't know if you saw what was written in the chat, but if any of you do not have a coding software like BlueJ or REPL online compiler, please type it in the chat so we can make sure that everyone has that. And another thing, which I think all of you do, but if you aren't talking, please keep your mics off just because we do have a lot of people. So it would be great if whoever's talking has their mics on, but if you're not, if you could have your mics off, that would be great. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah, you're
okay. Good. So right now, we're just going to be focusing on the PowerPoint over here, and we'll get to the BlueJ coding stuff in a little bit. All right. Alexandria?
Oh, I think it's Alex, or like...
Whatever. Okay, so the first lesson in this Java session is going to be about variables. Variables are something you use in pretty much every single coding language, and it's a really important concept for you guys to grasp. Thanks. So actually, before we can start talking about variables, it's really important for you guys to know how to just print something in Java. That means that you code it so that the computer types something out to the user, such as like, hi, hello world, or anything like that. So in order to print something out to the computer, you're going to want to use one of these two phrases you see in the slideshow. The first one is system.out.println, and then in parentheses, and then inside the parentheses, you type whatever you want to be printed out. So in this case, it's hello. And also, if you're just typing like a word or a sentence, you're going to want to put quotations around that. The bottom phrase for printing something out is basically the same thing, but the difference is that the first phrase puts in an enter after whatever you typed out. And then the second one is just going to keep going on. So the first one moves on to a new line after it prints out the thing that's in the parentheses, and the second one doesn't. And it depends on what you want to do, and you can choose whichever one.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and just do a quick example of that. Again, like Alex said before we get into variables. So first of all, if you guys could get BlueJ open, that would be great. And again, if you don't have BlueJ or don't have a way of coding on your computer, please type it in the chat so we can help you out. But if you guys can get BlueJ open, and then once you have BlueJ open, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a project. So to create a project, I already have one open, but to create one, you're going to go to the top left corner where it says project, click new project. So project, new project, and name it whatever you want to name it. You could call it like GirlsCodeIt, coding, anything like that. And then just choose the place where you want it to be saved, and then click OK. So again, project, in the top left corner, new project, name it something, choose where you want to save it, and press OK. And then you should see something like I have here, except you probably won't have these brown boxes. So I'll give you guys a minute to do that. And if you guys have any questions throughout, if you feel comfortable turning on your mic and saying something, feel free to do that. If not, then you can go ahead and just type it in the chat.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so if you have BlueJ open, what you're going to do is go to the top left corner where it says project.
Yes.
Click that and then click new project.
Yes.
And then do you see where it says right here, like new project name location?
Yes.
Okay, so then type in whatever you want to name it. You can name it, like I named mine GirlsCodeIt. You can name it whatever you want. And then location is just where on your computer it's going to be saved. And then click OK. And then you should get something. Basically, it'll look like the same thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, does anyone need more time on that? All right, cool. So now what we're going to do, now that we all have a project, is we're going to create a class. So to create a class, you're going to go over to the left. Right under where it says project, there should be a button that says new class. So click that. In your class name, again, you can name it anything. You can't have spaces, but other than that, you could pretty much name it anything. I'm going to call mine variable because that's what we're talking about today. But again, you could call it anything you want. You call it like lesson 1, meeting 1, anything you like. After you call it that, then just go ahead and click OK. And you should see a brown box show up like this, where it has the name that you just put in right at the top. So again, at the left, you're going to click new class. Type in the name, whatever you want to name it, and then click OK.
Got it.
Okay, anyone need more time on that? Okay. So then we're going to just open that. So just double click on that brown box that showed up. And you're going to see something that looks, one second, something that, oh.
Also, reminder you guys, if you aren't talking, it would be really great if you could mute so that any noise you have doesn't like interfere. Yeah.
Okay, so now you should see something that looks like this, a bunch of writing, just like this. So you can just go ahead and delete everything. So just go ahead and delete everything. Okay, so just go ahead and delete everything. And then at the top, we're going to write public class and then whatever you named it. So in my case, I named it variable, but let's say you named it hello, then you would write public class hello. So everyone's going to write public class, and then after that, write whatever you named your class. And Java is a case-sensitive language, meaning that you see how I have a capital V. If I were to do a lowercase v, it wouldn't work. So you have to have the same case as you did in as your name. And then we're going to do two curly brackets just like that. And then everyone is going to write public static void main Okay, I will put all of this in the chat if I can find the chat. This might take a second to open, but why isn't the chat showing up? I think the chat is lagging. But if you guys just want to go ahead and copy this down, so we have public static void main parentheses string and then the brackets args parentheses and then brackets just like that. Okay, so this is what you are going to write at the top of every class whenever you want to code. So does anyone need time to copy that down? Okay, cool. So once we have that down, then we can go back to printing something. So like how Alex has said before, we're going to use something called system.out.print. So let's just go ahead and type that. So system.out.print. And again, you could do println or just print. At this point, don't really worry about which one should I use. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'm just going to do ln parentheses and your whatever you want to write, you're going to put in quotations. And in your quotations, you could write anything you like. I just wrote hello. Just whatever, again, whatever you write, it needs to be in those quotations. And then that needs to be within parentheses. And at the end, you are on almost every line of code, you're going to have a semicolon. Anyone have any questions about this so far, anything like that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So my first question is Java like sensitive to indents as well?
No. So you mean like how it's indented here
Yeah.
and here? No, so you could have it like this. The only thing is it indents, at least in BlueJ, automatically because it just helps you to stay
Like more
organized.
readable.
Stay organized because like you see this every open bracket has to have a closed bracket. So like this open closes here, this open closes here. So the indents, they're not necessary, but they're very helpful for helping you stay organized because if you just have like a big block, it can get really confusing as to like where the brackets go. And when we get into some other stuff later, the indents really come in handy. So no, they're not necessary, but they are very, very helpful in helping you stay organized and keep track of everything.
Okay. And then my other question is like, why are we typing like the public static void main? Like what does that do or what does it mean?
So the public static void main, I'm not going to get into like every little thing of it, but basically we just write that at the top of our code and that's how it knows where to start our code. So this is what we write because if we didn't have it, it wouldn't know like, I guess where to start running / printing your code.
Okay.
Alex and Joanna, if you guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it can be really confusing to understand exactly why we do it when we first start coding, but if you keep learning Java, you'll learn it eventually and it'll make sense. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, anyone have any other questions? Okay, so now that we have system.out.println and then whatever we want to have printed out, we are going to compile it. So if you look in the top left corner where it says compile, it's right here where it says compile, just go ahead and click compile. So what compile does, it basically goes and checks through your code for any errors in your code. So for example, let's say I had forgotten my semicolon at the end of my line of code and I press compile, then it would give me an error right there. So if you get that, then you can just look back, see where it is and try to find your mistake. And my mistake was I didn't put the semicolon. And then if I were to compile again, then there's no mistakes. So now I know that I'm good to go to run it. All right, so again, compile right up there. Does anyone have any errors that you need us to help you work out or fix? Anything like that? All right, so now that it's compiled and ready to run, we are going to go back over to, sorry, it's kind of confusing. Go back over to this page, and the brown box where you are writing in your code, you are going to go ahead and right-click and do the second option, the void main string bracket args. So right-click, second option, go ahead and click that, and then just click OK.
Could
So
you
again,
repeat that, please?
sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes, please.
Oh, do you want me? Okay, so you go to the whichever go to the box that you had created before. Go ahead and right click and the second option, so the void main string args. Click that, and then just click OK. And you should see something that looks like this. Something that looks like this, and whatever you put inside of your quotations, like I wrote hello exclamation, that should show up right there. All right, anyone have any trouble with that or any questions about that?
Yeah, once I hit compile, I'm not able to get to the variable box.
Once you hit, oh, so did you name your class variable?
I named it variable 1.
Okay, so then on your variable 1 box, does it have any lines over it other than these two in the corner?
Yes, it has the checkered lines.
Okay, red, then that means that there's an error somewhere in the code. So if you open back up to this page where you have your code, do you see any spots like on right here, like on the left side where it has
Yes,
a red
it has
box?
underline. Yes, it does.
Okay, so some errors that, common errors that we could make. One is, did you have a semicolon at the end of the line of code?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and then did you have two parentheses and inside the parentheses the quotations?
Yes, the error it's saying is it's print 1N. Is that
Oh,
what
print, this is an L.
L? So
Yes,
it's
so
saying
the letter L.
okay.
Yes.
Print. Yes, now it's gone. Yes.
Perfect, cool. Anyone else have any trouble?
So the lines on my variable 1 have now gone black.
Perfect, yes, so now you can press compile. So in the top left, if you press compile, and then did the lines go away?
1 second. Compile. Yes, the lines went away. Yes.
Okay, and then now on your variable 1 box, you can right click and then the second option, so the void main string args. Click that, and then you don't have to type in anything here, just click OK.
Having trouble clicking the right click on the variable one box
Um,
on my Mac computer. Do you know?
right clicking.
Yes.
I don't.
I think you put both fingers on it and click at the same time with both fingers, and then it's the same as a right click with a mouse.
And then I click on compile?
If you compile first, so if in your code, if you click on compile,
Yes.
and then on your variable one box, did the lines go away?
Yes.
Okay, then you can go ahead and right click. So try the 2-finger. Are you using like your the touch box on your computer?
Yes.
Okay, so then try 2-finger right click.
Okay.
And then did this show up?
Yes.
So then the second option right here, void main string args.
Got it.
Go ahead and just regular click on that and then click OK. And then you should get a box that looks like this with whatever you put inside your quotations. It should be printed out right here. All right, does it look good, or do you have any other questions about that?
Very good. Yes, that worked.
All right, perfect. Does anyone else have any trouble with that? Or are we all looking good? Cool. Okay, so now that we know how to print things, now we can move on to the main topic of today, which is variables. All right.
Yeah, so variables, what is a variable, right? A variable is used to store information. So what that means is, like in this example, we have age is equal to 6. And age is the name of the variable, and 6 is the value that's stored in age. So like in math, when we have like x is equal to 1, 1 refers to x. So yeah, variables are used to store information.
Alex?
So there are different types of variables in Java and other languages. So the first type of variable is an int variable. That basically contains a whole number. So any number without decimals, so like -10, 4, 256, any simple number like that. The second type of variable is a double variable. So that's going to contain a decimal number. So that's like a fraction, well, not a fraction, but it has a point and then numbers after that. So it's not a whole number. You probably should have learned that in math class. So a double is going to store any decimal number like -7.56, 1.2, 3.1415, something like that. But not pi because it goes on forever. And then the third type of variable, which is a really common type, is string. So string is going to be text. Like, for example, anything in quotations is going to be a string. Anything you want to be a string has to go in quotations. So that would be like a sentence or a word, like I have 3 apples, or hello, or I'm a programmer. Anything that uses words like that. And a Boolean value is an interesting type of variable because it can have only 2 types of values, either true or false. It's kind of a strange type of variable, so we won't go into a ton of depth with it today, but that's just the other type of variable.
Yeah, so real quick, Booleans, we're going to be talking about in a couple lessons when we talk about actually, is that tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think it's tomorrow. When we talk about another topic in Java, it relates to that a lot more, so we'll go into a little bit more detail then.
I have a question about the variable types.
Yes.
So if you were to take a fraction like 3/7, for example, would that be represented as an integer or a double? Because
So
like any decimal is going to be an approximate.
yeah, so if, for example, you do like a division problem like 3 divided by 7 in Java, is going to convert it into a double, I believe, since it's not a whole number.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's say you like created a double variable that was 3/7. Then yeah, like Alex said, it would be a decimal. If we created an int variable that was 3/7, then it would get rounded, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Yeah.
I think you're right.
So yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, variables are useful because they allow you to store information, but they also allow you to change it. So yeah, and this is useful because if we have like a story, such as like once upon a time, there was a person named Sam, and Sam is 18 years old. Sam likes ice cream, and we keep using Sam, Sam, Sam. If the user wants to change like the name, which in this case is Sam, instead of like going back and one by one like changing Sam to like another name, if we just have a variable like in like a name variable, we can just change it to another name instead of like one by one changing that name.
Okay.
Okay, so you should remember the int variable, the first type of variable we talked about. So that's going to be the whole number one. So we're going to talk about how to make variables now. So the formula for making a variable is basically the same for every type, but specifically for int, to make an int variable, you're going to type out int and then the name of your int variable. So in this case, we're going to call it number, but you can call it anything like elephant, age, name, whatever you want. And then an equal sign, and then what value you want that variable to store. And then as always, your semicolon. And you can do a lot of different like math operations with int, like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing.
Okay, so if you guys want to hop back over to BlueJ, you can open up that same one that we were working with before. So in my case, it was variable. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Feel free to keep it if you want. I'm just going to delete it so we don't get confused with other things. All right, so like Alex said, we are going to create an int variable. So we do that by saying int. And again, it has to be a lowercase I because Java is case sensitive. Whatever you want to call it, I'll call it num, short for number, and whatever number you want to store in it. So I'll just do 6, something like that. And then as always, your semicolon. Okay, and I'm just going to create one more. Int num2 equals 2. And again, you guys can put in any number you like there, as long as it doesn't have any decimals. Okay.
So do we need to put a space after like your name and a space after the equal sign, or is it like just to like read well?
Yeah, so you don't have to. You could do it like that. You could do it like that. It doesn't really matter. I just always put a space there because I think it's a little bit easier to read. But if you don't want to, you do not have to. But you do need a space between int and the name of your variable.
All right, thank you.
All right, so now we're going to use what we learned about 15 minutes ago with the system.out.print. So let's just go ahead and type that again. Oops, my bad. System.out.println. And then in this case, we are not going to use quotations. I know last time we used quotations to print out like hello. In this case, we are not going, oh my gosh, sorry, we are not going to use quotations. So the reason why we're not using quotations is because I want to print out the number 6, meaning that I want to print out the num variable. If I were to put quotations right there, rather than printing out 6, it would print out NUM, because that's what's in the quotations. So if you ever want to print out just a variable by the name, then you're not going to put it in quotations. Because again, if we put the quotations, it would print out NUM rather than printing out the number that is stored in that variable. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So put in the name of your variable. You could do either one. I'm just doing num. And again, we're going to go up to the top, press compile. Yes.
How do you write comments in Java? I just want to write the note that you don't put it in quotation marks. So.
Okay, good question. So comments in Java, for those of you who don't know what comments are, it's basically something that you can write in Java that it's not going to be part of your code. So you could use it to maybe explain what this part of the code does or something like that, but it's not going to be run. So it does not have to be in like proper Java language, I guess. So we're going to do 2 slashes like that, and then you can write whatever you want. So let's say you wanted to write for a variable, do not use quotations, something like that. So as you can see, it's like a lighter gray kind of. So this means that it's not going to be run as part of our code. So 2 slashes and then whatever you want to say. Good question.
These are really useful if you want to leave like a note to your future self if you're running through your code and you want to be reminded about something.
Yeah, so it's super helpful when you get to longer codes and you might be a little bit confused about what this part of your code does or something like that. All right, so we are going to go again to the top left, compile. And then over here, again, so after compiling, the line should go away. We're going to right-click. Second one, void main string args. Click that. And click OK. And as we can see here, we have the number 6 that got printed out as we expected, because the number that is held in the variable num is 6.
For some reason, I did not get the 6.
Okay, what shows up on your screen?
Still, whatever that we had typed. I did enter the comment first, and then it's int space num equals 6 colon int num2 equals 2 colon, and then system.out.println in brackets num colon.
Okay, did you use parentheses or did you use brackets?
I use brackets.
Okay, so try with parentheses,
okay,
and let me know if it still doesn't work.
Sure.
Mine isn't working because when I press compile, it has that red block showing me that I have something wrong. But I made sure I got everything you have on your page, so I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong.
Okay, where do you see where it has like a red box or maybe like a little red squiggle where you have an error?
Yes.
Okay, so where is that squiggle located?
So it's between the parentheses, like it's on the left of the parentheses, the beginning, and to the right at the end.
Okay, so like around right here?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have system, capital S, system.out.println, and then parentheses, and inside the parentheses, the name of your variable?
Yes.
Okay, if you hold your, let me try something. Okay, if you hold, see
The
actually,
thing that I have, it says identifier expected.
identifier expected. Okay, at the top, where you made your variable, did you write int?
Yes.
So you said int space and then whatever the name equals the number?
Yes.
Alex, Andrea, any of you know?
Did you put a semicolon at the end?
Yes.
Do you have a like bracket, like you know how it like
Expected. That's what it says.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't catch that.
It's the apostrophe, the apostrophes around colon and says expected.
Oh yeah, so if you have that, then it just means that you need to put your semicolon at the end of the line of the code.
Okay.
So like right here, if I didn't have that and I try to compile, do you see something like this?
1 second. Yes, it was
Okay.
like.
Yeah, then all you're going to need to do is right there at the end, you're just going to need to put your semicolon and that should solve the problem.
Okay.
Okay, back to Amaya, is that your name, Amaya?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure what could be the issue.
Could it have to do something with the hello, like the system.out.println hello? Since I didn't take that out.
As long as it's the correct, did the hello work when we ran it with just the hello?
Yes.
Okay, then that should be fine. I don't think that should be the issue.
You have this on a completely different line from your hello statement, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure. After the class, maybe, if you want to stay maybe a little bit after, we can have you share your screen and we can try to figure it out. For now, yeah, so if you want to stay afterwards, sorry, I just don't want to run out of time. But we'll definitely try to help you out after the class. If you could stay a couple of minutes, that'll be great.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, so did anyone else have any other questions about this? Anything like that?
Yeah, so once I put in the brackets back around num, my variable is again showing lines.
So you shouldn't have brackets around them. You should always use parentheses.
Okay, when you say brackets, do you mean something like this?
No, just as what you have.
Okay, so parentheses, just like that.
Yeah, a parentheses, yes. My
Okay,
apologies.
do you have quotation? Actually, no, that shouldn't make a difference. Okay, yeah, again, I'm really sorry, but if you want to maybe stay a couple minutes after,
No,
we
no
could try
worries.
to
can
help
go
you out
ahead.
then. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, okay. Great. Then one more thing that we're gonna do with int, I'm just gonna do a quick example of one of the operations you could do. So like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. I'll just do it in here. So we're going to do, let's try multiplying them. So to multiply them, we're going to use an asterisk. So num times num2. If you wanted to divide, it would be a slash. So that would be dividing 6 by 2. If we wanted to subtract, just the minus, and add just the plus. But let's try multiplying. So the multiplying is going to be the asterisk. So shift, and then 8. That should be your asterisk.
Does
So
someone
again,
want to
no
guess what
parentheses.
it's going to print out?
Right, that's fine. Okay, so now that we have that, again, like always, we're going to go up to the top left. Let's compile. And if there are no errors, we can go ahead and right click. Second option. Okay. And where's my screen? Give me 1 second to find it. Here we go. And it shows out 12. Shows 12 like we expected because we're doing essentially 6 times 2, which is 12. So that's just a way that you can use your variables rather than saying 6 times 2. We could use num times num2 because 6 is stored in num and 2 is stored in num2. All right. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay, cool. So let's move on to our next variable.
Another type of variable is something called a double. And double basically means like decimals. So like 1.5, 3.33, like that. And so in Java, to create a double variable, it's like the same thing. You do double, which is the type, and the variable name, which is in this case x, and then equals whatever value. So in this case, it's 7.5, and then a semicolon. And for doubles, you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide as well.
Okay, so again, let's just hop on over to here. If you want to keep this, you can. Again, I'm just going to delete it just so we don't get confused. So doubles and ints pretty much work the same way because they're both numbers. The only difference, again, is that doubles are going to have a decimal. So let's go ahead and make it so double. And again, it has to be a lowercase d. Whatever you want to call it. I'll just call it number. Very creative. Double number. And maybe like 8.714 semicolon. And then just because I don't want to run out of time, I'm not going to do like show the printing or operations because like I said, they're going to be the same as int. So if you do system.out.print and then put a number there, it should print out 8.714. If you made another one like double number 2, you did like 2.15. And if you like multiplied it again, you should get like, I don't know what that is, like 16 point something, 17 point something, something like that. I can't do math. But again, it works the same way as an int does. Okay. So now the last one that we're going to get into some detail too.
Okay, so another really important type of variable, as we said before, is string. So this is going to be anything with actual words in it. And what's very important about string is if you want to define something as a string, you're going to need to put quotations around everything in it. So I'm just going to talk about how you make a string, which is basically the same as the others, int and double. So capital S string, and then space, and then the name of your variable, which we're going to say sentence for now, and then equals, and then in quotations, what you want the string variable to call. So anything inside the quotations is going to be what the string variable is equal to. And then, as always, you end your line with a semicolon.
Okay, so again, hopping back over to BlueJ, again, I'm just going to delete this. So string, capital S string, whatever you want to call it, let's call it sentence, equals, and again, like Alex said, you need quotes. And also, I just want to say, like, let's say you had quotes and like the number 3. Even though this is 3 is obviously a number, and we might be like, wait, why isn't this an int? So the reason is because it's in those quotations. So if you printed out sentence, it would print out a 3 and you might think it's an int. But because it's in those quotes and it's considered a string, you wouldn't be able to like multiply it with other numbers. So let's say you try to multiply the variable sentence with a variable that holds the number 2 as an int, then it will give you an error because you can't multiply a string by that number. So again, because it has those quotes, it's considered a string even though it looks like a number. So let's just do like coding is cool. Quotes. All right. And again, I'm just going to make another one just to show you one thing after this. Okay, so again, anything you want, they just have to be in quotes. And again, make sure you have your semicolons at the end of each one. All right, so just like how we did for the int example, we're going to do our system dot out dot println. And again, no quotations. Let's just print out sentence. Just like that. Okay, so once we have that, again, top left corner, we're going to compile. And if you have errors, first of all, errors are a super common thing in Java, so don't worry about it. The most common mistakes probably are forgetting your semicolons. So first thing, if you have an error, make sure to check for that. Capitalizing string. Let's see, what else could you have? A lot of times, at least for me, like I might forget my ending parentheses or my ending quotation. So that's another thing to check for. So anything like that. So again, compile. Go back over to our box. Right click. Second option. Okay. And here we have coding is cool. All right. Anyone have any trouble with that?
No,
Okay.
actually, everything worked. Everything you taught
Perfect.
worked.
Cool. Glad to hear that. Okay, so then if everything looks good, one more thing I want to show with string is even though obviously we can't like add two strings together like how we can add numbers, we can use this plus sign just like this. So then like you'll be like adding your first string to the second string. And so what this does, it basically just prints out both of your strings right next to each other. So it would print out coding is cool, exclamation. Hooray, exclamation. No space in the middle because I don't have any spaces there. So just coding is cool, hooray. So that's what this addition sign, I guess, does when you're working with strings. So it basically combines the strings together. It's another way to think about it. So if you want to just go ahead and add that plus sign and then the name of your second string. And again, we're going to compile. Hopefully everything looks good. Back over here, right click, second button, and OK. And right here. So as you can see, it printed out our first string right here up until the exclamation. And then immediately after, it printed out hooray. So knowing how to combine strings like that is really, really important in Java. But let's say you're like, okay, well, I want a space right there. There are a couple things you could do. One is you could add a space at the end of this, at the end of your first one, or you could add a space at the beginning of this one. But let's say you didn't want to do that. What you can also do when you're using system.out.println is you can add something in parentheses in the middle. So if I wanted to add a space, I could do something like this. So basically, if you remember how in our very first system.out.print example, we had system.out.println parentheses in quotations hello. So just how that was in parentheses and it printed out hello, if you have these quotes here, whatever is in there is also going to get printed out. So this is going to print out whatever is held in sentence, which is right up here, whatever is held within these quotes, which is just a simple space, and then whatever is held in sentence one, which again is going to be hooray. So that's a way that you can kind of combine both your variables and just anything else you want to add in. So you don't only have to be using your variables, if that kind of makes sense. So if I were to compile and then print this, then it's the same thing, it just added that space, which again came from here because inside those quotations was my space. So printed that as well in the same order that it shows up there. All right, anyone have any questions or any trouble with this? Okay, perfect. So again, Boolean, we're going to be talking about a little bit more tomorrow, I believe. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Does anyone have any final questions? Okay, yeah, so there are 8 classes. The next one will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. I think the same link will work, but I'll send out another email tomorrow to all of you. And again, who is it? Amaya and I'm sorry, if you had any questions that you wanted to stay after and help have us help you figure it out, please do that and we'll try to help you out.
Thank you.
Other than that, thank you so much for coming, you guys. I hope you learned a little bit about Java. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.
Hope you guys had some fun, and you can practice if you want tonight, or you don't have to. Whatever you like. Play around with it.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
The teachers.
Okay, Chantel. Chantel, did you get the email last night about with the what's it called? The link to today's Zoom?
Yes, but
Okay.
my understanding was that I was signing up like one class, and I wasn't sure like just how things worked all together.
I think I think you are on the list of people who want to do the whole session. At least you were on the list that was given to me.
Okay.
So you'll definitely be included in the email tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, after yes, I think you should be fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right.
So I was working on the variable a little bit, and I ended up deleting that string coding and like trying to start over on something else, like doing what you guys were doing right now. And it actually ended up being okay, so there's no mistakes anymore.
Oh, perfect. Cool.